Callum, good to have you on. Where we always start is a quick intro of yourself, business that you're in, and then we'll take it from there.
Yeah, well, first of all, thanks for having me, Tom. I'm Callum, and I'm the co-founder and director of HelpBnk. So we've been building this company over the last 2 years or so. As part of that, I've been building Simon Squibb's personal brand over the past 3 to 4 years or so. Starting from about 6,000 followers on Instagram, and now it's 12 million across all platforms. So it's been quite the journey so far.
Yeah, that sounds it. I wanted to go back then from HelpBank, and I guess like most journeys, starts as an employer or an employee, sorry, and then and now you're in the employer side. Do you just want to take us back through that sort of the start of the your career, and then how it's led to becoming the co-founder with Simon?
Yeah, of course. So when I was I think I was probably about 18 years old or so, I was just coming out of college in the UK. So what's that, year 13? And I was really sick of education by this point. I had a rough couple of years in college, and I just knew, I was done. I didn't want to go to university, and I'm very grateful for that choice. Reason being, I went straight into well, actually at the time it was a digital marketing apprenticeship, and I ended up working for a recruitment company. And as part of this, I kind of fell into running the company podcast, and editing social media videos, and this kind of thing. And I really found a passion for, the creative marketing, I suppose. And yeah, just creative in general. I love making videos. I love making, thumbnails and podcasts and all this kind of thing. So I worked in as an apprentice at that recruitment company for about a year and a half, 2 years or so. Got some really core foundational skills around creative. Self-taught editor. I did it mostly myself. And then off the back of that, I went freelance for a little while. During this time, I was able to launch my own podcast, which was a self-development podcast. It was called Happy Days with Callum Church. And through that and working freelance with clients like Stephen Bartlett and the Diary of a CEO, I started to get pretty good at content. And around this time, on that podcast that I was running, I had a guy called Simon Squibb on as a guest. And at the similar time, I had a guy called Jack on the podcast as a guest. And this podcast never made that much money. It never got that many views, but I owe my life to this podcast because it was meeting those two guys, Jack and Simon, that sparked, the company that we're building today. Jack, Simon, and I, we partnered up, we shook hands, and we started building Simon's brand, 3, 4 years ago or so. Co-founded HelpBnk 2 years ago, and as I say, the rest is history.
Some journey, but I guess the next point is that step or the transition. Obviously, it'll be made easier when you've got co-founders that have run businesses in the past. But that transition from being an employee to then being the founder and being the guy that has to make decisions and hiring, how was that transition for you?
I feel very lucky because, I guess I had some of the very loose, self-employed skills from being freelance, but, this is really still my first venture, I suppose, properly. And I'm very lucky that I have people like Simon, people like Jack, to, cover my back, I suppose, because, and I think this is really key for anyone that's thinking about starting a company. Some people choose to do it solo, but personally, I prefer co-founders. And the reason being is that everyone is stronger together in teams. I was great at content when I first shook hands with Simon and Jack and launched this thing. I was great at content. I'm pretty poor at most other things. Simon is the charismatic visionary, the guy on camera and the guy who has the vision of where we can go. I'm the creative that knows how to take that vision and make it real and make it work on social and build up Simon's brand. And Jack is, a strategic marketing guy that, is a great leader and really helps to, in those areas. So we kind of all lean on each other. And I need that because there's, I'll be honest, there's still a lot of business that perhaps I could get better at. But I'm not too fussed about that because I'm a specialist and I'm focused on my area and I can build out that realm. I can make the right hires within creative, but perhaps I can't make the right hires across some of the other elements and areas of the business. But I trust people like Jack and people like Simon to make those calls.
Yeah, and I actually had a conversation earlier today of they were the co-founder as well, so they got a business partner, but they found themselves then into things like finance and having to, because they're bootstraps, they're just all self-funded. They then fall into, like I say, having to do the finance, and then that pulls them away from the day-to-day things, and then they're not doing the client work, and then that suffers. So I think you've, like you said, well, you could call it luck, but you've obviously been in the right place at the right time to meet these people. But having those people that have that experience where you don't need to sort of pull yourself away from the creative stuff and go do something that they can deal with is like invaluable, really.
Yeah, for sure. And also, like, I have to say, like, I've been really put in the fast lane by working so closely with someone like Simon. Like, I think you learn the best by doing, and you learn the best by osmosis and the people around you. And I've been very lucky that I've had, the freedom to be able to operate and make my own decisions within the creative, but also informed by someone who's experienced like Simon, who's been, in the game for 35 years, right? So I've really been put in the fast lane through that, and that's something that I try and carry through anyone that joins our team. Just installing a little bit of belief in someone and putting them in the right spot for them to, self-actualize and self-develop. People grow fast like that, and that's something that we try and carry out throughout the business. So yeah.
Talk me through HelpBnk, what it is, what people use it for, and why. Yeah, what's the why behind it as well?
Yeah, for sure. So I suppose HelpBnk is the place for people to go to, get help with their business and start a business. We have a big vision for it. We have big ambitions. Right now, it is a tech platform where people can go ask questions and get them answered by business experts within their given fields. That's where it's at right now, but there's still a long journey to go, and a lot more that we want to do. And the why for this is, I mean, I can give you my personal why, and then I can give the team why, I suppose. My personal why is when I was 5 years old, like many people do, I realized that my time was finite, and one day that I would, die, I would pass away. And this freaked me out as a kid, and I remember this super vividly. I was crying to my mum, and I could barely see over the washing machine because I was only so high at that point in time. And I remember just crying to my mum, and she would say like, "Oh, it's okay, Callum. Like you've got so much time. You've got the whole life ahead of you." Da da da. And I'm not quite sure why, but this really stuck with me throughout my life growing up. This feeling of urgency, this feeling of, my time is finite, I've got to make the most of it. And I attribute a lot of my drive and motivation to this notion, I suppose, of finite time. And I guess, my personal why and my personal motivation is to wake people up to this fact that their time is finite, and, you can't afford to spend your life working a job you hate, just to pay the bills, just because that's the way it is. That was what I was told when I was younger. It's just the way it is. Just got to work a job. I really hated that. I refused it, and I've discovered entrepreneurship to be the key to unlock that for everyone. The key to unlocking a life of freedom, being able to live their dream, and not have to surrender to the system that we live in and that we grow up in. So that's my personal why, and this resonates massively with the rest of the team culture and the team company. I think everyone's on this mission as well. They'll have their own personal, stories and sources of this, but we're all on a mission to fix the education system, to make sure that everyone is able to live their dream and make of their lives whatever they wish.
I think that's probably quite a common case for people that do start their own business, and definitely for me, on just like I've never liked the thought of working for somebody else and not being able to live on your terms, I guess. But also at the same time with that, being a business owner is like extremely difficult at times, and you probably get it's like 80% of stress, and then which obviously pays off bigger than having a regular job, if you like. But people can look at it as this dream world of work when you want, where you want, when the reality is that it's tough. And I guess HelpBnk is a place for people sharing that. Would that be right? And like sharing that journey. And even if you are like a solo founder, you've got people to come back to and speak to that are also going through the same things.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I've been very lucky in my life, like I alluded to earlier, that I have had really awesome, smart people to support me, and I think, over the last few years, business is tough, but equally it's been a lot of fun. And I'll be honest, I haven't felt that strain too much. I've felt it at times, of course. I think everyone does, but I haven't felt it that much because I think we've built the business in such a way that's smart, slowly, in the correct way. And I think when you have the right knowledge and the right tools to be able to do that, to be able to build a business, you can take a lot of that stress away. And I suppose that's what we're trying to help people with. Give them the tools, give them the knowledge that they need in order to succeed, and yeah, just live the life that they want and that they dream of.
Yeah, and a lot of like a lot of the journey is being reminded of things. So I guess being in the community of, like I say, people going through the same things and the knowledge and stuff. But it is just all down to action and what actions you take. And yeah, I can definitely see how or why people are drawn to communities, and communities are definitely growing. Like you see the like school, for instance, that's getting bigger and bigger of communities. Obviously, everything started out on Facebook. Like people would run businesses from Facebook groups, which is communities. So that yeah, they're just getting bigger.
Yeah, yeah, and HelpBank's a big community, a big tribe of people that all want to help each other, and this is very much Simon's personal mission as well to share this message of what he calls give without take. Removing the give and take, notion within society and getting back to that more tribal feeling of, I'll help you because I know that it will come back to me somewhere along the line. I'll help you, you help someone else, maybe that person helps me back. And it's not direct, it's not one to one. It's we help each other as a community, and together we're a lot stronger that way.
Yeah, I actually saw the video, Simon's video today of the person vaping.
Hmm.
The was it? I'll give you how much to stop vaping forever.
Yeah, I think it was
I
a
actually
thousand
saw that like
pounds. I
about
think.
an hour. Okay, and asked this to everybody so far, and it might be a little bit different for you, being that not everybody has that the experienced person alongside them. If there was one thing that you could have changed while building the business, whether that's like for me, for instance, it was we hired too quick.
Mm.
We sort of saw we had early growth and then hired really quick, but didn't hire the right people, and sort of the service suffered from not being as quality, because obviously as founders, you can do it the best, nobody can do it like you, but if you bring somebody in, you at least want them to be sort of 80% of the level that you were at across those roles.
Mm.
Is there one thing that you would go back and change? Obviously, people say I have no regrets, but if there was one thing,
I have to say, I'm actually really struggling with this one, Tom. I feel very lucky and I'm very fortunate, as I've said, that we've built it in such a way, and I think everyone really takes care of their areas. What would I change? I think it's easy to look back on things that have succeeded and things that haven't succeeded, and maybe you choose those things, but I think it's the failures and it's the pursuit of that success, and the constant, you know up against the grindstone that sharpens you up and ultimately makes you worthy of that success in the end. So I don't think I could even change that stuff. I think it's easy to look back in hindsight, but it's a bit of a cop out answer, mate. But honestly, I actually wouldn't change anything, and I
and
can
you
say that with a lot of confidence. I'm very, very happy with the team that we've built, the culture we've built, the way in which we've built it, how we've built up Simon's brand and the content which we do. And yeah, look, it's been hard work. Like especially YouTube, for example, that was a beast that I was grinding away at for years, and that's painful because they're big swings. Short form, you can upload every day, make a video every day. With YouTube, it's at least a week. Back then it was about once a month, just because our capacity was only so much. But yeah, maybe I would have, in hindsight, maybe sped that YouTube process up. But equally, that's what made me sharp enough to be able to make it happen in the end. So I can't say I have that many regrets at all.
So the YouTube for, and it's interesting actually because you've got the personal brand is like way on top of like the corporate brand.
Mm-hmm.
So it'd be interesting to hear. You just mentioned that YouTube was a struggle to start with. What is that struggle to start with, and how did you overcome it?
Yeah, well, the struggle is uploading videos every month for 3 years, and not many of them really performing. There's a lot of time, sunken time, effort, energy, and it's tough to keep picking yourself up each time and going again, which is ultimately what you have to do for YouTube. You have to go through that period, that rite of passage, I guess, in order to succeed. So that was the struggle. What was the second part of your question?
So yeah, you probably answered it. To be honest, it was like how do you overcome the struggle? But it's that just sticking at it for the amount of time until it finally pays off.
Yeah, I mean, I remember I've got these WhatsApp messages saved of like, it was between me, Simon, and Jack, and we're talking in our group chat, and we're saying like, the short form's working, the YouTube it's not. Let's just double down on short form. Let's stop spending so much time on YouTube. And I was like, no, Simon, I'm gonna make this happen. Like, just let me cook. Like this is gonna work. And I had absolutely no evidence to say that it was going to work, by the way. Absolutely none. Just stubbornness, grit. But I'm so bloody glad that we did crack it in the end, because it just brings so much more legitimacy to Simon as an online personality. If you're famous on TikTok, then you're TikTok famous. But if you're famous on TikTok and YouTube, then you're an influencer. And if you can build on top of that and build into traditional media, suddenly you're a celebrity. And I think we're at that stage now where Simon is somewhat of a celebrity. I think it's brought so much more legitimacy to Simon's brand, and it's worth it, because I have to say, even though it's a grind and it's horrible, I've had so much fun building that YouTube channel up now. And we've got an awesome team that helped to make it all happen. Dudley was our head of production, one of our first hires. He's been an absolute killer over the years. We got Joe, who is now our channel manager of the YouTube channel, and he's really made it his own, and he's taken it further than I can alone. And it's just so worth it. Everything that's come from it. So it's just having that grit, that stubbornness, and belief. Ultimately, that's all you've really got when you're building, right? It's just belief. It's vision and belief.
Is there a standout video for you that I probably at the end of the journey, or even while you're going through that journey of, man, I really want to get this to work, or we're going to get this to work? Was there any like one video where you thought, right, sorted it now, we're on it? Or I guess more recently of like having a guest on that sticks out. Is there any one particular video?
Yeah, I guess I can speak to a couple of things. I mean, the most obvious one that sticks out is, our most famous one. It's just under 9 million views now, and it's called 30 Years of Business Knowledge in 2 hours and 26 minutes. This is the video that blew up the channel. This was the video that ended all of the suffering of building up that channel. And it really put us on the map on YouTube. And now I think it's fair to say Simon is extremely established on YouTube as a business creator. So, that stands out the most as, my favorite video, maybe one I'm most proud of, the most impact. In terms of guests, I mean, off the back of that video, after putting Simon on the map on YouTube, we've been able to collab with some awesome people, like people like Alex Hormozi, people like Richard Branson, people like Patrick Bet-David, big names in the business space, right? So, I mean, it's hard to pinpoint any one guest that we've worked with, but we spent a lot of time with Alex Hormozi. We went to his offices in Las Vegas. we must have spent about 5 hours with him in total, and he gave us a lot of respect as a team, and that was very nice because Alex and the culture of his company and just his whole setup is something that I love, and I take a lot of inspiration from. So him giving us so much time and so much respect, which goes both ways. Yeah, that was very nice. It was a nice moment.
I've followed Alex for a long time, to be honest. Way before he blew up on YouTube, probably in his last few years of gym launch. So I bet that was good for you.
Yeah, it's really cool, and he's an awesome guy as well. Crazy smart, just gives so much value. Through his videos, but also when we met him and we were just chatting and stuff. Yeah, really awesome guy, and Layla too. Layla's equally impressive and totally awesome. Yeah.
Okay, interesting one, because I've seen the growth on the B2B side for content. Interesting that, would you ever be putting yourself out there, or would it always be, now that you've built Simon up, is there like appetite to build you and Jack up, for instance, and get that ecosystem of content of all of the founders doing stuff?
Yeah, we're actually in the process of this. So we're going to be launching Free Humanity as a brand, which I guess heads up the ecosystem. So Jack and I are going to be part of that, leading it. We'll have the whole team feature, hopefully, but I suppose Jack and I will be the faces of that. So we'll start to build away from Simon a little bit, just as to bolster our ranks, I suppose.
So you and Jack, like I say, sort of stepping out from under Simon's name, if you like, or Simon's brand, and creating your own. What's the reason behind that, and where do you want to see the returns on that?
Yeah, for sure. Well, I guess to answer your question, I can answer this in a pretty simple way. Personal brand is an extremely powerful tool, in a way which company brand just isn't. Company brand still has a place, and it's still, you know, you should still be building a company brand as part of this as well. But companies of the future and companies of now, in fact, are being headed up by a personal brand and bolstered by the company brand. For example, think of Tim Cook at Apple, or formerly Steve Jobs and Apple. Think of Elon Musk and Tesla and SpaceX. Think of Mark Zuckerberg, the absolute turnaround that he's had on his personal brand in the last couple of years or so, and Meta, of course. So, these personal brands are miles and miles and miles bigger than the company brands, and they power up the company brands. So I suppose this is in part what we're doing. Jack and I will be building our own personal names and our personal brands as part of Free Humanity, and to help build up that company brand as well. I suppose a good example of this, we've built up the HelpBnk brand off the back of the work that we've done on Simon's brand, and he's been the face of it. And I suppose Jack and I will be the face of Free Humanity.
And a big thing, like I've said it before, I'm one of the most introverted people in the world, and I definitely wouldn't be doing video content if I didn't see like the value of it. And probably the biggest objection that you get of why aren't you building your personal brand is because people don't want to look stupid. Or a big one, actually, I had this with one of my clients, was people already know this stuff and they're going to think, why is this person even employed, because this is just common knowledge. For somebody that's built up a huge personal brand for Simon, what would you say to those people, and I guess displaying the value of that personal brand?
Yeah, I think there's now, if you're introverted, just to say, you don't have to be your face on video. That you can still have a personal brand and not necessarily have your face on it. There's tons of channels out there that are faceless channels that have a name attached, that have a brand attached, have a person attached, but there's no human face attached to it as such. So there's ways around it. I think people get stuck in that trap because it's mostly knowledge and understanding of content. I think they're not open or aware of the fact that you can build a personal brand without having your human face attached to it. For example, there's a friend of ours who has a YouTube channel, and it's called Open Game. Basically, what he does is he has white gloves and he opens up, video games, unboxes them, and he shows a little bit of footage of those games. And it's like a compilation type thing. And these videos get hundreds of thousands of views, and his face isn't even on it. In fact, neither are his hands. He's got gloves. So there's ways around it. And of course, I know in that example, that is I suppose, more of a company brand. But there's no reason to say that you couldn't build up that channel with, Callum Church being on the banner, right? And you can display your personality in a number of ways. You can do that by hand gestures in that example, or in other ways. I know some people that choose to wear masks, for example, or they animate themselves, this kind of thing. So look, you don't have to necessarily be on camera. There's ways around it. I think people get caught in that trap because they only see, the vast majority of personal brands are a human face on it, someone on video. But if you're creative enough, and if you really want it enough, there's ways around this. So, yeah, I don't see that necessarily as a barrier. I think knowledge is the barrier. People aren't aware that they're able to do these things.
Yeah, and it's more in the like B2B world of it. Is, do you still think that you could do it in like a service-based business of you not being the face of it?
Yeah, absolutely. You don't necessarily have to have a face on it. For example, I was talking with a friend over lunch the other day, and he runs a Facebook ads agency. And he was talking about, it's so tough doing B2B content. It's so tough doing content as an agency or whatever. It's boring. It's tough. It's like, no, it's not, dude. You just got to be creative enough. It's like the real answer to creating awesome social media content is you need to find a format. You need something repeatable that you can run as your own little mini series on the internet. Think of this as your own little show. And the example that I gave to him of something he could do was take weird products, really strange products, maybe some random crap you buy on Etsy, something strange. Try your best, as part of that video, as a little series, try your best to sell as many of those as possible with your awesome Facebook ads knowledge and understanding, and have it as like a little game, and people will watch these videos, first of all, like, whoa, this guy's going to sell this strange product, and they'll stay in the video to see how he does it, which is, subtly marketing yourself as a person and your company, and they'll stay to the end to see how many did he actually sell? Is he able to sell this strange product? So, and you don't have to be on camera at all for that. You can be a voice, and equally, look, if you're introverted as well, there's ways around this. Simon, for example, is extremely extroverted, so his content is out in the street, talking to people, crazy stuff, like blueprint, full business breakdowns and interviews and this kind of thing. But then, on the other hand, you can have someone like Ali Abdaal, for example, who, for the vast majority of his videos, and I can't speak to whether Ali is introverted or extroverted or not, but, the vast majority of his videos are sit down, maybe he has a teleprompter in front of him, and he can, at his own time and leisure, he can, go through the script, all pre-planned, no performing or anything on the spot, and you can do it that way. And, for me, I suppose I'm a bit of a balance of the two. I can turn it on, but I'm actually more introverted. I get a lot of energy from spending time alone. So my personal preference would probably be the sit down, plan out script, write the perfect content, and read it off a teleprompter. So there's ways around it. Yeah, that's what I'd say.
Yeah, and without giving away your content strategy for the next 5 years, or Simon, what you're going to do with Simon's, where do you see this moving to? Right now, I'm probably, without being an industry expert or anything, I'm probably seeing the authentic side of things doing really well. So behind the scenes, Alex, I know Alex Hormozi did a couple behind the book launch that he did. Yeah. That authentic side of behind the curtain look at different things seems to me like that's performing pretty well at the minute. Where do you see it going, either this year or even further in the future?
Yeah, so name of the game of content and social media in general is that it's ever changing. It's constantly moving. Algorithms are changing, preferences, the meta, I suppose, the dumb thing that everyone's doing at that current point in time. It's always changing. And the name of the game, like TikTok got banned for a day or something, like let's say that happened for a longer time span. What happens then? Where does all the attention go? Maybe there's a new platform that everyone has to adapt to. So name of the game with social media is just adapt. Be quick moving, be able to be lean and agile and go where the attention is, But in order to build out a format, you talk about, people going down the more authentic route. I think, yes, that's probably only going to get more and more, likely as, things like AI disrupts content and this kind of thing. And people are looking for more general, pure connection. I think people are seeing this with the impact and sudden growth of real life communities. So anyway, to get back onto my point, where do I see it going? The truth is I don't know. And you say you don't know if you want to give away Simon's content strategy. I'll give it away now, and that's totally fine. We've found a format, like I said earlier. We found this awesome format of What's Your Dream, and this didn't start off with What's Your Dream. This started off way different, but over the years we've iterated and improved it slowly. So the name of the game for anyone listening, find your format. And you can tailor this to your personality. You can tailor this to your own competitive advantages. In the example of Simon, we knew he was a charismatic dude, awesome, sales person. So very good at thinking on his feet, had a lot of business knowledge. So it only felt natural that he would be the guy in the street running around asking people, would you ever start a business of your own? And that's how it started. But we iterated and we changed the hook. We made it What's Your Dream? The reason being, not everyone is necessarily interested in starting a business, but everyone's got a dream. And yeah, over the years, we've just iterated and changed that. And I'm still thinking of ways that we can, make it feel more raw, make it feel more authentic, switch it up a little bit. Like most recently, Simon's just bought those Meta glasses with cameras in, and we're going to test out some content doing clips with the Meta glasses, where people don't notice that they're being filmed perhaps, and they don't have a crazy cameraman in Dudley running around London with Simon, and chasing them around. So name of the game is find your format, keep iterating upon it, and just make sure that you're lean and agile and you can adapt to the ever-changing landscape of social media. I know that sounds a little bit overwhelming perhaps, but if you just get started, you just start making content, you'll learn it as you go. You learn by doing. And, if you can commit, just a year, just commit 1 year to short form content, you'll find something, you'll have an understanding, and you'll be able to build off of that.
Yeah, and I think that is the key of it's like a grey funnel, if you like, of especially in the B2B and doing it on LinkedIn. You don't know until somebody says to you, I saw some of your videos, you don't actually know if it's working. Mm-hmm. But it probably takes 6 months to get to that point. And then once you get to that 6 month point, it's more than likely that you'll see it's like a rocket taking off for that 6 to a year point.
Well, so it's all learning as well. It's like, you're not doing it for those 6 months, a year to see the results. You're doing it just to learn yourself, and then suddenly you'll learn just enough to break through that threshold and have a video fly, and have the crazy numbers and have the very obvious impact of your videos, So it's not always necessarily about impact straight away or people watching your video straight away. It's about you getting better as a content person enough, and growing enough and quick enough to, break through the noise. That's the name of the game.
Awesome. I think we can wrap it there.
Sweet.
Lots of nuggets there for me and for people listening as well. So thank you, Callum. If anybody wants to find you, obviously you've got HelpBnk, but as we've discussed, you're going to start doing your own personal branding. So where can they find you for that sort of stuff?
Yeah, I mean, easiest places is LinkedIn, Callum Church, or Instagram, which is at Callum Church 15. And to check out all the resources that we have and everything that we do, you can go to Simon's website, simonsquibb.com, and there's a whole list of everything, including HelpBnk, the YouTube channel, everything. So you can find it there.
Awesome. Thanks for coming on, Callum.
Thanks, Tom.